Now, let's move on to a story that deals with the Free Lunch Project. The Free Lunch Project was started by Dr. Deng Fei and was supported by over 500 fellow medical professionals. This past March, Deng posted a message on the Chinese microblogging platform Weibo, saying that he wanted to help build a cafeteria at a primary school in the province of Guizhou. The post spread quickly and gained widespread public support. In the span of only days, Deng's post was registered as the Free Lunch for Children Foundation. It asks for donations of just 3 renminbi, which comes out to be around 40 cents, each day to provide a simple but nutritious school lunch. Deng now has over 530,000 followers on Weibo, and the fund has raised over $2.5 million in just 5 months, providing daily lunches for more than 10,000 children in 77 rural schools. And it looks like the foundation may have inspired some action on the national level as well. The Chinese State Council recently announced that as of this school year, the central government will allot $2.5 billion every year to provide free and nutritious lunches for the kids in rural areas. The government's new move has drawn a lot more attention to Deng's non-governmental organization. So what are Chinese net users' opinions on this project, and how far do they think it will go? Well, to get an idea of what's being said online, let's cross over to the newsroom where our researcher Esther Deng is standing by. Now, Esther, before we look into this Free Lunch for Children Foundation, can you give me an idea about what a typical child's diet is like in rural China, and exactly how much does it cost to feed a child?
Oh, yeah, sure. First, let me bring up 2 surveys done by the China Development Research Foundation. In 2010, the foundation did some research on children's diets in 12 rural primary schools in 4 of the less developed provinces, Qinghai, Yunnan, Guangxi, and Ningxia. The data show that among students between 10 and 13 years old, the prevalence of growth defects is 12%, and 9% of the same children's weight is below normal. And another survey in 2005 is even more worrying. In a primary school in Duan County in Guangxi, the typical meals for a student there consist of a steamed stuffed bun for breakfast and rice and soybeans for both lunch and dinner. Altogether, these meals cost 2.3 yuan, or around 36 cents, which means the annual expense of feeding a kid is $130. But the average annual income of the local farmers is $215. So even though the meals are so plain and simple, they cost 60% of the family's income.
Wow. Well, apparently students in rural schools are in dire need of help in terms of nutrition. So this Free Lunch Project must have gotten plenty of praise online, huh?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Lots of posters here are deeply touched by this project. First, we have this simple comment from 开心就好 on Sohu.com. This is the most moving act of charity I've ever heard of. I support it. And this poster from Shanghai said on Yahoo.com. We can't bear the cruel fact that on the one hand, we've achieved so much economically, while on the other hand, we still have so many kids facing the dangers of starvation. The Free Lunch Project is not a matter of money, but a matter of people's conscience. And this poster, 木耳山人, goes even further by commenting on iPhone.com. As far as I know, Japan offers free milk to its kids till today. Kids are the future of a nation. To be responsible for the next generation is not only the responsibility of the government or the so-called rich people, but the responsibility of every ordinary person. Others have given suggestions to expanding this project, like this poster from Xi Lingmei on Yahoo.com. A supervision system has to be established so that there will be clear regulations on the quantity and quality of the lunch, like how many eggs or how much meat each meal should contain.
Okay, Esther, now, as I said earlier, this project has gotten even more attention since the central government announced its own copycat program of providing free lunches to the kids in rural areas. But what do people online feel the government's role in all of this should be?
Well, regarding that, posters' discussions revolve around the right way of doing charity here in China. And the majority of them consider this free lunch project as a perfect model. But interestingly, some posters have come to totally different conclusions. For some posters, the Free Lunch Project exemplifies the interaction between non-governmental organizations and the government in terms of doing charity. like Shen Bin, who comments on dfdaily.com. For non-governmental organizations, to collect millions or tens of millions of yuan is already a very hard task. But to solve the problem of feeding these kids, we need hundreds of millions of yuan. So in the end, we have to continue this project with the help of the government. And the founders of the Free Lunch Project hope that after 2 years, the government will take over. While for the other group, the success of this project just shows how powerful the non-governmental organizations are, and therefore the government should leave the charity to these organizations. One typical example on this side of the fence is Lu Ruan, who has this observation on rednet.cn. Well, in this case, a charitable activity started by a non-governmental organization has changed the central government's policy in just half a year, and therefore tens of thousands of kids have benefited from it. Its success gives us the answer to the question where charity in China will go when facing so many crises of trust. It comes from having confidence in the strength of the non-governmental organizations and returning the work of charity carrier to society as a whole, instead of the government always running the charities.
Okay, well, finally, Esther, how far do posters here think this free lunch project will go for?
Well, based on the comments I found, most of the posters have plenty of confidence in this project. As long as it can overcome some difficulties they think will determine the future of this project. For example, we have this poster named Liu Bin, who lists 3 detailed suggestions on ChinaDaily.com. First of all, a financial system has to be established as soon as possible. We've heard about so many scandals coming from charities. So a clear and transparent financial record is crucial for the Free Lunch for Children Foundation, so that people will be willing to donate their money to the foundation. Secondly, food safety has to be guaranteed. What these kids deserve is not just a free lunch, but a healthy and nutritious lunch. And finally, the local government should also make their contributions to the project.
Well, hopefully this won't be the last time that we hear about the Free Lunch Project. Thank you very much, Esther. And that was China Take researcher Esther Deng with reactions to one man's mission to feed some children. Coming up next, China's top searches. What's hot and trending on China's search engines?